Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back to Fat Cat Collections. And today I'm excited to share with you guys something I've been working on for probably the last 3 or 4 weeks. And this is the stereo system that's been upgraded or updated in my 2006 Solara. Now, I love the Solara. I did a complete video on this car in in previous times, and I definitely encourage you to check it out. I discussed some of the modifications. Nothing over the top, pretty cleanly done, lowering kit, wheels, that kind of stuff. But the system is awesome in this car, and I'm a huge bass head. I put stereos in every car. I have surround systems and stereos in every room, and so naturally, whatever car I ever get, I'm going to put an elaborate system in it. And so my previous system involved brands by components by Pioneer, MB Cort, Sony, and it was great for a long time. And even this system here, it's not that it's insanely louder, but it's definitely louder and definitely cleaner. And the brand that I chose and the brand that sponsored me to do this video, 99% of the system is by this brand, is Acoustik. And Acoustik is a brand that I discovered many years ago, and I like the brand so much that I consider it the Invicta of car audio. You get a lot of bang for your buck, a lot of great quality, and anybody who tells you have to spend $800 for your Fosgate amps or buy those high-end, very expensive amplifiers, really it's just hogwash. You can get a lot of great quality, a lot of great sound out of very what I would consider middle-of-the-road amplifiers or car audio. So let's check it out. I'm not going to be able to turn it on today because this system is extremely loud, and where I live, you just can't do that. So let's check it out. And at a later date, probably closer to summer, I'll give you a video showing the subs in action, getting some flex on. But really, as I've always said, you really can't judge a system by a YouTube video. Well, let's check out what I've done. So let me show you inside the car. I'm gonna flip the camera onto the car now. And by the way, if you haven't seen it already, that's the car. Alright, so Acoustik, again, I want to go ahead and thank them again for their generosity in sponsoring this video with several of their components. Now, Acoustik sent me pretty much everything you needed to install this system, minus the wire, which I already pretty much had everything wired up and ready to go. And of course, the door speakers are my component set. Now, I didn't go with Acoustik because not to say that their speakers aren't good. I've had other brands and other vehicles, and ultimately, nobody's really making anything terrible nowadays. Anything is an upgrade from your factory stuff. But even factory stuff, if you put an amplifier on them, you set the crossover properly, they don't sound bad. But in this case, I went ahead and kept in the doors, and they're behind factory locations. I built a spacer to get them in there, but I have a 6x9 inch MB Cort component system, and that's the only thing I have in this car for your mid and highs. I like to have a sound stage in a car for the most part, with especially a coupe, no rear speakers. So I just take them out so all that bass can kind of flow through the rear deck a little better. And that's how that's how you listen to, unless you listen to surround sound or a concert, generally your sound stage is in front, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. All right, so what we have here is the first component Acoustik sent. I'm just going to turn on the deck so you can see it. This is their I believe it's a 10.2 inch screen. And so this is a double DIN unit. And let's mute it there because we don't want to have a copyright infringement there. But anyway, it's a 10.2 inch screen, and it's a double DIN behind that. And basically it just pops on. I did a full in-depth review on this, what I like about it, what I don't like about it. I'm not going to touch on that in this video, but the deck is pretty cool. If you're looking for something with a huge screen that'll play a DVD, play all your media, this is a great choice for you. It has a micro standard SD card slot behind the sorry guys, let's go back to the home here. So it has a regular standard SD card behind the faceplate, which is removable. It has a side USB port right over here, whereas I'm using a very small 32. You gotta be kidding me! 32 gig USB, USB drive. Plenty of music on there. Really no need to have anything more. I believe it will support up to 32 on each whether it be the USB or your SD card. Now, I'm not using the SD card currently because all my music, 32 gigs is more than enough for me in my car. But if you want to add that, you can actually go ahead and have about 64 gigs of music with this deck. If you're interested in playing a DVD with this, naturally, huge display, huge screen, and again, I definitely encourage you to check out my video before you make any purchase on this kind of stuff, because there are pros and cons to this deck, but nonetheless, it looks really good, and it really depends on the car you're installing it. Naturally, in my car, it's a very, very basic climate control system. It's really basic, like on or off, max AC, you know, minimum AC, or heat, hot and cold. I mean, it's very, very basic. It's just 3 knobs right here. And for me, I can still reach them on my particular car. You may have a car where this would not work because maybe this deck would be overhanging those controls too much. It works to this car and it doesn't look too out of place. So naturally, if you want to have other monitors, this does have video out, and you can hook up a backup cam to this if you chose to. So let's go ahead and check out the amp rack now. And what I've done with this particular system, and let me just move some stuff out of the way here for a second. All right. So behind the rear seats, these amps are mounted to the back of the box. And you can see right here that the amps, these are their newest line, the BAMF, badass, and you know what that stands for. And I've done a trim piece with that to basically cover up the wires. I do need to rebuild the trim piece because I want to fit it to the amps a little more, but this is temporary. The amps come black, and I actually custom painted these white. So I just used the standard acrylic paint. Made sure I masked off certain areas like the connections, and just gave them several coats. It's held up pretty darn well. Naturally, installing, you always have a few little nicks here and there, but it matched the car pretty well, and that's why I wanted to do it. The stiffening capacitor in the middle is a 5 farad capacitor, and of course that's hooked up just to the sub amp. The one on the left is actually a 4-channel amp that I have bridged. That's running about 300 watts by 2 to the MB quartz in the doors. And then, of course, the 5 farad cap on that's the BAMF 80,000D. That's their biggest sub amp that they make in the BAMF series. I've had prior to this one, I had their BAMF 5000D, and I have that particular amp in my Jaguar as well on 112. A lot of bang for the buck. I mean, you get this amp for about $200. Again, I'll put links to all this stuff in the description. They give you a lot of bang for your buck. Let me tell you, I was running a Punch 800 in one of my cars that cost me about $800 back in 2001, and naturally, you know, the Punch is CEA, I believe, compliant, whereas you pretty much know what you're getting for wattage. This amp they rate at 8,000 watts max. You're never going to get anything close to that. And, you know, some guys bench test these things. Realistic on an amp like this, I would say it's probably going to get you about 2,000 to 2,500 watts RMS. And again, it's going to depend on your cabling, your electrical system. A lot of factors come into play. You know, it's a big game when it comes to amplifiers who are, you know, middle of the road like this, where, you know, they're not CEA compliant, where they're, you know, it's not, you don't know exactly what power you're getting unless you bench test them. But let me tell you, I mean, this amp definitely puts out a lot of juice. Definitely more than my Punch 800, and the price is only about $200. So you really can't go wrong with dollar per watt. It really is quite amazing, and they look great. And I think they turned out really nice with the white. A little tedious, a little time consuming getting them perfect. And white's, you know, kind of unforgiving when it comes to you know, scuffs and scratches. But you know, you rarely see them in the car. I just wanted to kind of match to the car a little better. All right, so let's go over to the sub box itself, or the front of the box. And this is the enclosure here. And let me just put you guys down for 1 second, because I just have to prop this up here. Okay. And so here is the sub enclosure. And this is something me and my dad built. This is 5.4 cubic feet. It's a huge box. You can see it takes up pretty much all of the trunk. And originally the box is built for 610s, which is why this cover plate here is on it here. This is done in fiberglass. It's just screwed right down to the top of the box. Basically, the top of the box looks just like this, but when I originally did this, it was for 6 Sony 10s, and I was never happy with the way it sounded with 6. I never actually ended up retesting it with aftermarket amps and aftermarket deck. Originally, it was done on a factory deck, and that was the real issue. Even when I had 3 Sony 10s in here, which I gotta tell you guys, hit pretty darn hard too, it never sounded right until I changed out that factory deck to something aftermarket. Once I did that, it seems like whatever sub I put in here absolutely pounds. This one is tuned with 2 4-inch ports to about 32, 33 hertz. And these are their Power Acoustik BAMF series subs. These are 3 10-inch subs. These things absolutely hit. I mean, you get windshield flex and everything. And, you know, it's definitely louder than my Sony subs. But the reason it's not insanely louder is because I'm really not running enough power to them. Realistically, these really need about 1500 watts RMS, and I'm probably only getting about maybe max 700 or 800 watts per sub. So really double the power to really get these things flexing. But nonetheless, I mean, how loud do you want to go? You know, I don't compete, so really it just comes down to the love of creating a car audio system, having it look nice, being able to turn it up and really bang it when you want, but turn it down when you don't want. And this is why I actually added, with their bass knob, I added in the factory location there was an unused switch plate here, and I took the switch that they gave me apart, drilled a hole in the plate. This comes out if I ever need to replace it, hot glued it all in there, and it looks like it's a factory knob, but that is the bass knob controlling the output of the amp. Again, the box is 3/4 inch MDF, skinned in a combination of Formica and a kind of a synthetic carbon fiber vinyl. Hopefully you can see that by the video here. And again, this is just an afterthought thing, just because I wanted to cover up those holes there, and this was, in my opinion, the easiest and cleanest way to do it. And again, these are the BAMF series subs. These are 3 DVC 2-ohm subs. In order to get the right impedance on the amp, get the maximum amount of power, 3 is kind of an oddball number. So with 3 2-ohm subs, they're wired series parallel, which gets a 1.3 ohm load on the amp, which, again, be nice to have it bench tested. I wish they were CEA compliant. I wish they would actually just tell you the actual realistic numbers from the amp, but a lot of these middle-of-the-road amps don't do that. And, you know, there is always a numbers game when it comes to a lot of brands like that, but that shouldn't discourage you from getting the amp. $200, I mean, you throw 2 subs on it. Like I have my Honda, I have this very similar amp, not this exact amp, but the BAMF 5500D, I think it is. And that one there, definitely putting out minimum, 2000 RMS. I have them on a set of a pair of Alpine Type S subs, and it flexes as well. So I'm really impressed with the quality. I love the way the subs look in the car. They're very clean. They have a nice big thick rubber surround. 3 times the X Max of my Sony, so they have the ability to definitely play deeper than the Sonys could. And I'm just ecstatic with the brand quality, the brand price. I mean, you can get these subs for about $100 each, and there's really nothing else out there that gives you this kind of quality, this kind of performance, this kind of specs for, the price. It really is amazing, and that's why I consider Power Acoustik the Invicta of car audio. It's just a lot of bang for your buck, and you really can't go wrong. You're not going to be disappointed. Again, you got to make sure you're having the right box. Don't go buying, not everybody has the ability to build the box like me. I have my dad, he helps me with that stuff, and he's awesome at doing it. But, if you have to pay a guy, remember, for a 10-inch sub, good rule of thumb, 1.5 cubic feet, tuned, ported, 32 hertz. You do that, pretty much any sub you put in that box is going to sound good. And there's always, if you're competing, it's a totally different ball game. But for getting output, for getting depth, for getting that deep bass, you really can't go wrong ported. And these things hit as low as any 15 out there. Let me tell you, they get down. So I wish I could crank it up and show you the flex, but that's for a different video at a later date. We'll save that for the next video. And that's about it, guys. I just want to go ahead and once again thank Power Acoustik for their generosity in sending me all this stuff. They sent me both amps, the stiffening capacitor, the subs, and luckily the box and all that stuff was done, and the deck. So Power Acoustik, thanks again. I'd love to collaborate in the future. And you guys might be wondering one thing. I just want to go back to here before we close. Why the pool cue? So what I did is, before this, when this box actually went in the car, there was torsion bars in here. And to get the 10s in here, I didn't have a lot of height. I couldn't really do 12s at that point. And, otherwise I would have done 3 12s or 2 15s. And I ended up taking out those torsion bars at a later date, and I could not get them back in. So I said, screw it, now I have a lot of height. So my point, the reason I'm saying this, is I want you guys to maybe just kind of stay tuned that at a later date down the road, maybe a couple years, I may end up redoing this with 2 Power Acoustik 15s. We'll see if they want to sponsor another video. If they do, Dad's already committed to building another box with me. So stay tuned for that. We're going to see if I can get them to actually sponsor the Honda as well. We'll see if we can do some kind of different system in that. You know, I have 210s in there ready, but not really sure if I want to just stay with 210s. We'll see. Either way, awesome product again. Power Acoustik, thanks again for your generosity. And guys, stay tuned for more. I'm going to keep re-reviewing this car and do a couple breakdowns of some things you might want to need to know, things with wiring and stuff like that at a later date. But if you guys have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to contact me. Drop a comment. If you have this gear, let me know what you guys think. And if you're in the market for getting any car audio equipment, definitely give Power Acoustik a look. You're definitely not going to be disappointed. All right, guys, remember to subscribe to the channel. If you want to make a purchase, do it through my links. As always, guys, have a wonderful day. Take care.